kindly start rotating to the next table. So it's a very, very short discussion time we actually have for these groups, but I think the next groups will then continue what has been built on already. So thank you. So move clockwise, yes. So your group, Belen's group, will move to Aaron's group on data. Aaron's group will move one table back to the institutional considerations, please. So this group, okay. Okay, and time is up for these groups. So please conclude your comments and move to the next table. Thank you. Okay, so the time is up really. So please move to your next table, the one that you have not been to. So again, moving clockwise. So from the data table, moving to Avinash's table on institutional considerations. And from here, moving to the data gap table. Thank you. This one. Okay, and it's our final round of discussions. And our facilitators will then very briefly give a report back to the plenary after this. Thank you. So 7 minutes is up. So please wrap up your discussions. And I will hand over the mics from the tables to our facilitators to share about the insights. Of course, everyone is very free to chip in, but our facilitators have been here for the whole 3 rounds, so that's why they will also be reporting back. So maybe we'll start with Belen, with your table. Very briefly, just keep it to, if possible, to 1 minute.
Yeah. 1 minute. Oh my.
2 minutes.
Okay. So in the whole scope of, the questions were, what are the benefits for doing this reporting of the UN decade? And the other one was, what are the key principles that should guide this, this monitoring and tracking of the decade? So in the national scope, we've talked about how important is collaboration. I think that was the main point throughout the 3 tables, saying that how important is that the Ministry of Transport can talk to the Ministry of Environment and so on and so forth, so that we are friends in a way. This confidentiality, this secrecy that often guides the interactions are not benefiting. That was one important principle. We talked about also specifically on data, interoperability, how important it is that we can have validated data, that we have metadata as well, the quality basically, that we can use good foundations in order to then build upon. Also, we talked about this user experience, so not everyone is a developer, so we cannot, maintain data sets and information really limited to only a specific type of professionals, but rather making it more available, accessible, readable, not only machines, but rather the important ones, the humans. We also talked about the benefits, how this could benefit governments. We talked about data gap filling, so we are able to see the whole puzzle by puzzle, to see the whole image. And this will help, of course, with building capacity in the governments as well. It's important that we have people that can utilize this information so that policy can be transformed into actions, and as in the interventions was said, so that these actions are also fundable later. One specific topic also about how the decade can accelerate government projects, but also how government's projects can accelerate the implementation of the decade. I think I covered up everything.
Perfect, Belen. That was really interesting. Thank you. So let's move directly onwards to the institutional considerations. A quick summary on what were the key highlights of the discussion, and maybe commonalities, especially in discussions.
Thanks. So based on the discussions in terms of the institutional considerations, like what should be the governance processes and institutional arrangements, the things that came out very clearly was it needs to have a dedicated budgets and funding to support this process continuously. Then we need to have specific departments in terms of handling the specific types of data based on the expertise. Also, the important point that one of the speakers highlighted is to ensure that all the appointments are merit-based. Then in terms of, there needs to be a policy. There needs to be a policy around how to ensure open data. This data is available. Then related to this, an important point which I think even Belen covered was how to break silos between the different departments or ministries, how to have a better coordination. So one of the solutions that also was highlighted by one of the speakers was it's always important to involve all the allied ministries, not only the parent ministries, but also involve allied ministries in this, which will ensure both horizontal and vertical integration. Another important factors in terms of data is how to keep it simple, intuitive for the common people to make sense of it, to understand it. So in terms of improving the accessibility, and also in a way that it should capture the lived experience of theirs. Then another important point was around the capacity building, like there needs to be a continuous periodic capacity buildings, and then clearly defining the roles and responsibilities. So I think these are the important pointers which came out under the data governance part. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. I think there were definitely commonalities between these groups and in terms of collaboration on the breaking the silos, capacity building, and the accessibility of data. And moving on, Aaron, to your group, can we have a short summary as well on the data, closing the data gaps group?
Hi, morning everyone. So I'll just raise this up since we have 2 pages. Okay, so the identified data gaps that was mentioned by the different participants is there's data, but it's fragmented, so it's all over the place. Many institutions or organizations are collecting it. And there is also lack of partnership between the government and the private institutions, since these private entities can serve as the tools for the collecting data collection itself. And also, we have to accept that there's different levels of data availability for the member economy. So we have to make the data collection as easy for them as possible. So giving them standard definitions, standard procedures of how to collect the data. And what else is here? For the data coverage, there's a good coverage of data for urban areas, but there's lack of coverage for rural areas. And also there's for the disaggregation, so more often than not, the data is lumped into just people or numbers, but there's no disaggregation for age, gender, disability, or income. And there's also this problem of data delays. By the time the data is collected, it may be invalid by the time it's completed. And also the statistical significance, you have to make sure that the collected data represents the population that it's supposed to represent. Also, how can the UNDECA data management system can help address these identified gaps? First, again, I mentioned this earlier, is to standardize the data collection procedure and the definitions for data. And we also need to make sure that even though the data is there, the entities and governments or institutions must use them in their processes. So it must be a systemic change. So data is there, so we have to capitalize the data, make it part of the system and processes. And I think there should be also a focal point for data. So just this is to address the fragmented data. And also the data is there, so we have to we can utilize it by connecting the dots, making stories, and other complementary ideas. And I think I covered it all. If I missed anyone from the group, can speak up and add to it.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I think this was a nice complementation to also to the other discussions. A lot about fragmentation and lack of data as well, especially like the comment on the rural areas that easily gets forgotten about. And yes, solutions, standardization, systemic change, institutionalization of the data collection, I guess, and capacities, I suppose, also would be relevant there. So we have come to the end of the session. So I want to really thank all of you, our speakers, and especially our participants for the active participation in this exercise, and to our facilitators for the great facilitation on this. I think these insights are really, really valuable. We'll take them forward as well. So thank you for contributing as well to the building of a stronger monitoring system for the UNDECA. And I wish you a very nice end of the Transport Forum. We have one more bunch of sessions left, and I hope you will enjoy it, and I hope you have enjoyed the Transport Forum, and I hope to see you again in other events soon. So thank you, everyone.